What is up, Jags fans? We have a show on a Thursday night because we got some big news in Jags country, baby. You guys already know the news, so we're just going to talk about it. Good news is I was able to go through some film on Arik Armstead. So if you didn't hear and you're just watching somehow and you didn't hear, Jags signed former 49ers D lineman Arik Armstead. I watched 4 games. Okay, 4 games. That's it. But I feel like, it's only been a few hours. So I went through the 4 games. I feel like I have a good feel about what we're going to see from him. I'm going to watch more, but I got some clips loaded up that we're going to look at. We're going to look at some of his stats throughout the years. We're looking at some PFF stuff. You know the drill around here. We're going to be talking all things Jags, but I want to get your input on this. So get in the chat. This is a fan show. You guys know the drill. Let me know what y'all think, and we will be talking Jags D-line, which went from, pretty decent to, now might be kind of monstrous, right? So pretty excited about that. Before we dive into everything, though, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel while you're here. We've had a lot of subscribers over the last couple weeks, probably because I've been doing shows. Imagine that. When you put out content, people subscribe. Isn't that crazy? It's crazy how that happens. Follow the Twitter. Follow the Instagram. I want to get to as many comments as I can tonight. We do have some film, so I may miss some. If it's good, type it again. All right, so let's start the show off with a $5 super chat from Guy, who says, the love-hate relationship with Balky continues. It's hilarious how, people are like, oh, I love Balky. I hate Balky. I love Balky. I hate Balky. You guys know how I feel about him. I think he does a great job in free agency. I think he does a terrible job in the draft. So, I feel like that's the easiest way to summarize how I feel about him. That's probably how you guys feel about him. The problem is you can't build a team through free agency. You have to draft players. So, maybe this year, 2024, maybe this is the year that Balky hits on multiple draft picks, because he can hit in the first round, but trading back up into the first, second, third, he's having some problems. So maybe this is the year that it happens. Maybe we'll all say a prayer. Maybe we'll all do some yoga, whatever superstition that you have. Do it, please. Do it, because we need Balky to hit on this year's draft. That is, unless he trades a draft pick for Brandon Ayuk. I don't know. We'll get to that later. But we always shout out the first person in the chat. Nolly Full Cab, channel member, spams the Blake Bortle emojis. Thank you, Nolly, for being here. C Breacher, second person in the chat, also a channel member, says, I forgive Balky. That easy, huh? You forgive that maybe there's something to be said for forgiveness, right? And if you're willing to forgive, that's a good thing. Now I would just question, maybe you should forgive out of your heart and not off of actions. That's true forgiveness, right? Real forgiveness. But not get into that right now. Josh L says, Balky cooked a feast. Rajib says, Balky making splashes like he's farting at the community pool. Mark Moon says, Ridley went from the hope of Jacksonville to the enemy of the state. Can't blame Ridley. Would any of you in the chat, turn down that deal? Listen, I wouldn't. Mac Jones was a Jags fan his whole life. He got drafted by the Patriots. Was he supposed to be like, oh, no, I'm a Jags fan, right? Ridley, he got paid almost $100 million. You're turning that deal down? Athletes typically get one chance at a mega contract. So I don't blame Ridley. Now, do I want him to fail? Do I want him to drop every deep pass or contested catch like he did in Jacksonville? I do. I do want that a lot. Do I want Antonio Johnson to come across the field and hit him legally, of course, and maybe make him rethink running without looking for a safety? Yes, I do. Do I want him to run a corner route and Trevor Lawrence hit him right on the hands and he drop it in the end zone? Yes, I do. Now, whether that's Will Levis or whoever else they have there, yes, I want that to happen. So, Shay, channel member, and special commenter, says, Jason, I'm driving back from Universal, and I will be listening on the drive. I love it, Shay. Thank you. Shay's a very valued channel member around here. When Shay talks, we listen. That's our motto around here. Guy says, pretty good rebound with Arik Armstead. Corey T, channel member, says, Mark Moon, Ridley, who? See, that's how you forgive, right? That's how you forgive, is you don't let them affect you, right? The best form of revenge is success. I'm sure someone said that more prominent than me, and I know I stole that, but that's true. That's true. Like, he's done. He's done. Are we going to see him twice a year? Yes, we are. But again, we know who Ridley is. We saw him up close and personal, and I think he will be better this year than he was last year, but he's not $90 million good. He was the number 2 on our team. So, Robbie Santos says, did not expect the Arik Armstead signing. Kevin says, how does everyone feel about this offense? Kevin, we're going to get to the offense, I think, later in the show, but I have some film loaded up, so I'm going to get to that here in a second. I'm going to read a few more comments, and then we're going to get to some film. Kevin says, Calvin costs way too much money. Rajiv calls him Calvin Midley. Mrs. Duval, who's a channel member, we always love when Mrs. Duval is here. She says, good evening, everyone. Jags making some good moves in free agency so far. Excited to see how it will translate during the season. So that's kind of what I wanted to look at when I was looking at Arik Armstead. Like, how is he going to translate? Because I'm not afraid to speak the truth, my truth, and my heart. And admittedly, when I first saw the deal for Arik Armstead, my first thought was this, and in this order. Hell yeah, we got a D lineman to improve this D line. We're only going to be better. That was my first thought. My second thought was, how much did we pay him? Right? And I saw his contract. What was it? It came out to be, I have it at the bottom. Was it like $50 million? Was it 30 or, I don't know, 30 or 50 million? I can't remember. I got to look now because it's going to drive me crazy. I know it's one of the two. 51 million. 3 years, 51 million. I think the guaranteed money was 30, right? I think that's where I'm confused. So I thought, okay, $50 million deal. That's not like massive for the NFL standards, right? But it's a chunk of change, especially when you're a team like the Jags that doesn't have a ton of money. My third thought was, okay, like how much of his production at 30 years old, which is not old, by the way, not old at all. I know some 34-year-olds that are very spry, right? That have a lot of life left to live, that are going to the TPC for the next 3 days at the Players Sawgrass, and they're going to live their life to the fullest. I know some 34-year-olds, so 30 is not that old. I thought, okay, so a 30-year-old on a D-line with Chase Young, with Bosa, with, who else did he have? He had Dre Greenlaw, Javon Kinlaw, Javon Hargrave. How much of it was him, and how much of it was the people around him? Because we've seen here, 2017, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And when you have a dominant D-line, everyone eats, right? And you take a look at Arik Armstead's stats. He's 6'7", 290, which I love. He was drafted in 2015. He was a first-round pick. 17th pick, by the way, same pick we have, and it was made by Trent Baalke. Last year, he had 8 sacks, including the 1 sack he had in the Super Bowl. 58 pressures, 43 hurries, 21 tackles. Only played in 661 snaps. So that immediately made me be like, okay, I need to watch some film here, like what's going on, because that's only half the snaps typically for a defense in a season. In his career, he had 2 seasons where he played over 900 snaps. That was 2019 when he had 13 sacks and 2021 when he had 10 sacks. Besides that, he never played over 900 snaps, which would be about a little over 2/3. They brought in Kevin Givens a lot. Especially on first down, which was weird. They would bring Givens in on first down, then they would take him out, and then they would put in Armstead for like the rest of the series, which I don't really understand what the mentality was there. And again, this was a 4-game sample size, but it was all different weeks. It wasn't like just like a little sample size. So I wanted to see what his play was like. And just for some context here, the guy he's going to be replacing, I think, is Roy Robertson Harris, given that Devon Hamilton comes back healthy. So last year, Hargrave had 8 sacks, 58 pressures. And over his career, he's had 46 sacks over 9 seasons. Roy Robertson Harris has played 7 seasons and only has 17 sacks. So big discrepancy there in sacks, obviously. So let's take a look at a couple of the sacks from these 4 games here. We're going to pull them up here. All right, so he plays – what's nice about him is he plays like kind of all along the defensive line, right? So he can play a lot of different positions. So here you're going to see him right here, which I would say inside shoulder of the tackle, right? So maybe like a 4-tech, I'd probably call this a 4-tech, right? I don't like blue on the play sheet. So right here, 4-tech. All right, and he had a pretty good game against the Buccaneers. In fact, this was his highest graded game on PFF. He graded as a 91. So obviously I'm going to look at this game, right? So here he's lined up at the 4 technique. What's interesting here is I know that the 49ers do run a 3-4, but if Ryan Nielsen comes in and switches to a 4-3, this is kind of like what it would probably look like here, if I had to guess. So here he's lined up there. Take a look at the play here. Watch him here. Beats the guard, beats the center. This is probably his best play. You might have seen this play on Twitter, but I like how he kind of like I know like you guys like the fact that he got the sack here, and like he's very explosive. His short area speed is very quick, and I like that. But what I like more than anything is at 6'7", he's very good at using his length and using his hands. And like you say that a lot about DNs and edge rushers. Like they're really good with their hands. They're really good at like chopping or swimming or whatever it is. But like he's good with his hands from the D tackle position, which you don't see a lot, right? So watch his hands here. Swim, gets through here, no shot. Now, again, the whole pocket was collapsed here. Chase Young collapses the pocket, which helps the sack here. But, again, I know they had Chase Young and Bosa, but we have Josh Allen and Trevon Walker. So we're going to have this type of pressure on the outside. And one thing while I'm here that I'll say is that Arik Armstead was double-teamed a lot. A lot. Like you would think, okay, my thought was this, maybe not you, but my thought was like, all right, so they're double-teaming Bosa, or maybe they double-team Chase Young, and they leave Arik Armstead one-on-one. There wasn't a lot of that. Like, there was some of that, but a lot of Arik Armstead's best plays were pressures against double teams and then against the run. And he did both of those against double teams. So here you can see, like, he's just a bull in a china shop. He's so big, athletic, and strong. He's hard to block, and you can see that there. Look at another sack here. This was against the this was against the Jags. This was against the Jags here. So I think I don't know if we even broke down this film during the season. Like we might not have here. We probably didn't. Knowing me and knowing my tendencies of not breaking down film on games where we got absolutely destroyed, we probably didn't break this down. But here's in the 2 technique, right? So the 2 technique is what we call when you're head up over the guard, right? So 2 tech, okay? So here you pretty much – the reason why it's important that we call this the 2 tech is because you know you're going to be double teamed. Like, you're literally in the bubble of the center. So you know, like, unless there's some sort of weird play call, that you're going to get a double team, right? And that's what D linemen do. They eat double teams, right? So here we go. Don't know what Sheriff's doing here, but that's a conversation for another day. Again, like, this isn't really Sheriff being, like, injured or weak. This is him just, like, I don't know, dude. Like, what are you doing? Like, you tap him. I get it. You're trying to block Bosa, but stays in the pocket, pursues it, gets the touch sack, right? Not super impressive, whatever, I get it. But nonetheless, we'll take it there. All right, we'll take a look at another one here. Which one do I want to show next? Okay, how about this one? All right, so it's against the Seahawks, right? All right, so now we're going to see him. I'll circle him right here. Now we're gonna see him like in like the shade, right? So I like to call this shade when I'm calling defenses. Some coaches call this the one tech. And again, it's just important because anytime you're in the shade or the 1 or the 2, you're going to get double teamed. When you get kicked out here like the 3, if you get kicked out here to like the 4, right, the 5, then you have a chance of not being double teamed. But he knows he's being double teamed here, right? So you're going to see him here against the Seahawks. Again, I mean, this is a collapsed pocket sack, but this is the type of sack I think you'll see here in Jacksonville a lot. And the most important thing here that we need to talk about is that he doesn't get pushed backwards. Like, how often would our D linemen just keep not even being pushed backwards, just being stuffed at the line of scrimmage? All year, our D linemen were getting stuffed at the line of scrimmage. So when you can get penetration from everybody, then now the quarterback has nowhere to go. And this isn't some like immobile quarterback, right? This is Geno Smith. This is the guy who can get outside of the pocket if you don't collapse it, right? So here you go. Collapses the pocket. He's very good at keeping his head up, right? You'll see this from all the plays coming up. Like, even though he's engaged in a block at being so big and tall at 6'7", he's in a hand to the throat right here. He's able to keep his head up, and he can see what's happening. This allows him to get involved in the run game. This allows him to he's very good against the screen. He gets his hands up to bat balls. So he's here, collapse pocket, cleans up the sack. Great job there. We'll take it. All right, here's another one. Seahawks game, same game. Okay, I think he's right here. He's going to be on the inside shoulder of the guard. I'm not going to circle him. I mean, again, just not a guy that you're blocking very easily. And so this is the difference between him and a guy like Roy Robertson-Harris. And I like Roy Robertson-Harris. I'm not saying anything bad about him, but Roy Robertson-Harris didn't have plays where he just knifed up the middle of the field. We saw this a bit from Devon Hamilton when he was healthy 2 years ago. But we see this almost every play. Like, a lot of plays I didn't clip were just them throwing the ball quickly out in space to get away from the D-line. Like, that's one thing that teams did against the 49ers, obviously. But going back and watching these 4 games, I noticed it even more. The offensive game plan against the 49ers was to get rid of the ball quick. Screens, quick passes, to basically neutralize the defensive line. So that's probably what teams will do against the Jags this year. So now this allows our linebackers, our box safeties, our corners to play that press man like Nielsen likes to do, and allows them to make plays. And he's brought in guys, Ronald Darby, Darnell Savage. He's brought in guys who do well in this type of defense. So this is going to be good for everybody, right? Now we probably don't have to draft a D lineman in the first round, which is nice. But gets penetration, which is just great for me to see. All right, I'm backed up on comments here. I'm going to get to as many as I can. Volkfang says, channel member Volkfang, the one thing that annoys me is seeing everyone want to bring in every single noteworthy free agent because almost none of our draft picks are good enough to not be replaced. That's fair, but I mean, I agree with your premise, right? I agree with your point that our draft picks aren't good. I get that's your point. But just a little context, every team does this with every free agent, right? Like I saw, who was it? There was another team in on Armstead. They thought they were going to get him. So, I mean, every team just wants him. Guy says $17 million a year. Ouch. Sludge Sports says, if we sign Ayuk, we have him, Kirk, Zay, Duvernay, Davis, Agnew. Well, I think Agnew's gone, but Washington. Okay, so Agnew's gone. But the problem with Ayuk is you're probably going to send the second-round pick for him. I don't see why the 49ers would move Ayuk. Obviously, rumors are that he's being shopped. But I don't see why they would move him unless they could get like high draft capital. And I think second-round pick is the highest draft pick they would take. So I've seen people be like, oh, a third next year and a fifth. That's not going to work. It's going to have to be a second. So if you do trade him for a second, now you only have a first-round pick. You have a comp third pick. And so you only have 2 picks in the top 3 rounds, and one of those is a comp pick, so it's barely in the top 3 rounds. And I don't think that's what Balky wants to do. And you have to pay Ayuk here coming up. And I don't think he wants to add another person to the roster that he has to pay. Unless he's looking at this window of like, this is Trevor's window. He's on his rookie deal. Let's bring in as many big-time free agents as we can. I don't think he's looking at it that way. I don't think the Ayuk deal gets done. Now, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Ramon James says, greetings all. DJM says, Jason's on. William says, sorry I'm late. Bulky actually doing some good things. Was not on my bingo card, to be honest. Ramon James goes on to say, please hit that like button and share this with your folks. Thank you, Raymond. I appreciate that. Yeah, hit the thumbs up. You guys have been doing really good. I get to see the channel analytics and the video breakdowns, and what's very impressive about you guys is not only is like the like percentage like 100%, so no one's disliking the video, which I appreciate. There's a lot of likes on the videos. The most impressive thing about you guys is the average viewer duration, like how long people are watching the videos, is like over 22 minutes. And I can tell you, as someone that's been doing YouTube for a long time, and I know a lot of YouTubers, that is significantly longer than most people have people watch their YouTube videos. In fact, most YouTubers don't even make their videos 22 minutes. So the fact that, and the reason why they don't is because people don't watch them for that long. So the fact that you guys are watching for 22 minutes and more is amazing. And I just want to take a second to say I appreciate it. I think that's actually a sign of a good channel, content creator, and viewers than anything else. Because like I said, most people's videos are like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, because they know they're not going to watch it. And you guys are sitting here watching me rant and read comments. And for that, I say thank you. Glacial. Oh, I scrolled down on accident, so I missed a bunch of comments. I'm sorry, guys. Type it again. 100 miles per hour says, put Roy Robertson Harris as Waterboy. Killa Swag X says, Duval. Let's freaking go. Sea Breacher says, do you think we need an edge? Do you think we have a needed edge? We do. But it's not a starting edge. It's a rotational edge. Now, whether that's a young guy or just a guy that can be productive on 400 snaps. Yes, we do. But it's not a guy you're going to go out and pay a bunch of money to. Because we just don't have that need. We have Travon Walker and Josh Allen. We have so many other needs. Now, in the modern NFL, you do need rotational edge players. You have to have them, actually. But it's not a position that you're going to be paying a bunch of money to. Like, remember how Arden Key came in and was a rotational edge? Like, that's what we need. At his deal, we had him. At his production, that's what we need to look for. So, Richard Maruder says, if D. Hamilton is healthy, he's next to Armstead, 100%. Because Armstead, like, can play a lot of different spots, but he doesn't play like that, like, true nose that Hamilton can play. Like, that true shade. Again, Armstead can do it, but Hamilton, that's like what he's made to do here. All right, let's take a look at some more sacks. Right. All right, so against the Bengals. Also had a good game against the Bengals. Right. Here you're going to see him lined up on the inside shoulder of the guard, maybe head up on the guard. When you're 6'7", it's hard to know if you're inside shade or if you're head up. But I'd call this inside shade. Gets a one-on-one, and that's just no shot. And that's the thing. Is like when you do leave him one-on-one, like the Bengals decided that they were going to double team the right D tackle. Right, and this is the guy who I was talking about comes in for him. They're going to double team him. They're going to double team, or I guess they have a tight end. I don't know if he releases or blocks, but you leave him one-on-one, and he can do this. Again, look at the hands. The hand. I mean, this is just strength. I mean, the right hand, no shot. Bosa folds him back into the pocket, and he gets a sack. Another one against the Bengals. I like this little formation here where they got 2 guys, 3 guys really here. The Jags did this a lot last year. Folds back in. This was a good stunt. Watch this. Watch this. This is why I love defense. This is why I love defense. Okay, so they're gonna get a push here. Armstead's going to do an initial like a soft push here. And then Greenlaw is going to come and just clean out the guard. And then Armstead's going to stunt to the inside. Well drawn up blitz right here. Watch this. Greenlaw comes in, cleans him out, sack. Great job. Great job. I love it. Here's his sack in the Super Bowl. You see him here, obviously, over the guard. Nice wide rush. Keeping Mahomes in the pocket. And cleans up the sack. And I know this doesn't look that impressive, but he does this a lot. This is what I was trying to say. Like, he keeps his head up. Doesn't give up on plays. It doesn't look like he's moving fast, but he's so long that, like, he's faster than he looks because he's so big. Like, imagine, like, have you ever been around someone that's, like, 6'7"? Or think about someone that's, like, 6'4", 6'5". Like, they're, like, noticeably the biggest person in the room. So imagine 6'7", almost 300 pounds. When you are moving, I mean, he's, like, the biggest guy on the field right now. And that's what the Jags have been missing on the D-line. They've been missing the biggest guy on the field, and that's really the truth of the matter. That's the truth right there. All right, here's just a pressure I clipped because I just was early in the film breakdown. I was like, oh, this would be a good pressure to clip. It's here at the inside shade of the center. Just a bull rush gets there. I mean, again, what stands out to me is, like, so often, and I kind of talked about this earlier, so often, like, our D-line would just get stood up at the line of scrimmage. Armstead's not going to get stood up at the line of scrimmage. He's going to push his offensive lineman back into the pocket. That makes Baker have to throw it quick. And then a linebacker's got to tackle. So I like it. I like it. Robert Atzert says, we are not the Rams with free agency. Trent scouts suck. We need a head of operations to tell Khan the truth. Ice Dancer says, yo, the Jags are cooking. Ron Beedry says, if this was a good Jaguars channel, you'd have framed jerseys. Well played, Ron. Well played. You know me. I like to make promises and just never come through with them. You know, it's a great tactic, you know, just to say one thing and do the other, right? 100 miles per hour says, isn't Key a free agent right now? Oh, good question. Slot corner at the 17th pick, says Robert Atzer. 100 miles per hour says, if he stays healthy, our D-line will be nasty. 49ers fan says he has plantitis, so I don't know how to spell it, but it's a foot issue that makes him miss a few games a year. I trust our training staff, though. Yeah, I think faster plantitis, isn't that like an issue with the top of the foot, or it's on the heel? Obviously, I know nothing. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not any kind of doctor, actually. He goes on to say, finally someone to show Trayvon how to master the bull rush. I like it. I like it. Let's look at what else he can do here. All right, so he's good against the run, right? Against the Seahawks here, you're going to see him right that inside, head up over the guard. Great swim move. Like, watch his swim move at the line of scrimmage right here, right? Swims him. The tackle has to push him down the line to where the ball's going, and then that's a tackle for 0. Swim. I mean, that's a quick move at the line of scrimmage. I could watch that all day. For a 30-year-old, 30's not old. 30's not old. Who am I kidding? Great job. A D lineman that can actually stop the run. You love to see that right there. All right, here's another one here against the Jags. Yep, going nowhere. Beats Anton Harrison. I mean, this is what I was talking about. Like, the O-line gets no push. I mean, there's no push here. Absolutely no push here. And you can even see for like half a second here, he's just standing Anton Harrison up. I know the camera's in the way, the little camera. But he stands him up. He has his head up. He's so tall, he can see over the line. Sees where the ball's going, can disengage, and then make a tackle. This is him against a screen right here, right? This is what I was talking about. Really good against the screen. Watch him against the screen here. Great swim. Again, this swim move at the snap. Swoop. Beautiful. Gets his, And it's not just the swim, because you can see the center is going to pass him off, right? It's how quick he swims and then gets his hands on the guard and then is able to disengage to get the tight or the screen. Watch this. Swim, hands on, disengage, chasing the ball, got him. Like, how often is your interior defensive lineman making a play on a screen pass where the flow of the play was the opposite side of the field? It was designed to get everyone moving to the left. Armstead doesn't fall for it and makes a tackle. Great job. Great job. I'll take that all day. Take that 10 times out of 10. It's what we've been missing on this team, is this type of player. And I love it. Sea Breacher says, can we afford Ayuk? Well, I think we can afford him right now. But when his contract's up, and I think his contract's up like pretty soon. Let's see here. Ayuk contract. Ayuk is still in a contract for another year. His current price tag is around $14 million in 2024. So his base salaries is a 4-year, $12 million contract. It includes, so already got his $6 million signing bonus. So basically he's going to get, it depends on how they, I guess we can click on it here, how they structured his contract. So yeah, so they backloaded Ayuk's contract. Let me just show you all this. This is why he's actually currently a trade target right now. And if you're the 49ers, it's smart to make him a trade target right now, because look at how they structured his contract. Okay, so Ayuk currently, so his rookie year, he basically had a $2 million cap hit. That's nothing. 2021, $3 million cap hit. 2022, $3.5 million cap hit. And then last year, he had almost a $4 million cap hit. Next year, he's got a $14 million cap hit. So they backloaded Ayuk's contract to make him to where they had to pay him in 2024. So him being traded this year makes a lot of sense due to the way that the 49ers structured his contract. So this was very smart by the 49ers, and it makes a lot of sense that they would trade him. So the Jags would be taking on the bulk of his contract if they did trade for him. Now, he is a good receiver. I mean, he's a great receiver. But again, the 49ers are saving $14 million if they trade him. Now, he's worth that. But you got to think, if you're the 49ers and you have him for one more year, next year he's going to be looking for Ridley money. So you're looking at $90 million. So the Jags, if they traded a second-round pick, there's a chance that he's a one-year rental, much like Calvin Ridley. This is very similar to how Calvin Ridley's contract was shaped and how the Jags took it on last year. But he wasn't established the way that Ayuk was. So that's the issue, is that it's not a cheap deal at all. So 49ers know what they're doing. $100 mph says he has elite hands. WTF. G Grant says, I'll say it. Armstead is better than Allen, and he just had a career year. Perfect timing for Walker. This defense might be more special in 2017. That team stayed healthy, though. Brandon McKenzie says, praying he has healthier years in Jags. Yeah, if we take a look at his stats throughout the years, let's take a look here. So this is Arik Armstead. So guess what I was talking about, the snap counts. His first 3 years in the league, he didn't even get on the field. He played under 300 snaps. Then you get into kind of the next kind of bulk of the years. 2018, he did get a jump in snaps and had 3 sacks. 2019 was the best year of his career when he played 912 snaps and had 13 sacks. Was a little injured in 2020, only played 750 with 4 sacks. Bounced back in 2021, playing almost 1,000 snaps with 10 sacks. Had an injury year in 2022 with only 2 sacks, and then last year, again, played about half the snaps with 8 sacks, 7 hurries, and 43 hurries. So, again, injuries are a concern with him. I mean, you do kind of have to trust the Jags training staff here. This is like his grades throughout this season. He had a great game against the Giants where he had 3 pressures. A good game against the Steelers in week 1 with 5 pressures. Then you get down here to week 11 versus Tampa. Had 12 pressures, 1 sack, 83 grade right here. We'll get moved down a little bit. And, Tampa game. The Seattle game, he had 2 sacks. We already saw those. Good grades there. Didn't play great against Detroit, but played pretty good against Kansas City. So, if we take a look at his snaps by position last year, we can scroll all the way. We can scroll all the way over. All right, so we'll just hide the chat here for a second so you can see. Obviously, all his snaps are on the D-line. Most of his snaps coming at the left tackle, defensive line, left side. Okay, so that's typically where Travon Walker is on the left side. Well, this was last year with Caldwell. We don't know how it's going to look with Nielsen. But this will tell us he's going to be playing next to Travon Walker more than anything. Played left end a good amount at 196. Only 6 snaps at right end and only 20 snaps at right tackle. So he likes to play on that left side, which is typically the right side for the offense. So it's typically the strong side for the offense. So that's why it makes sense. He's kind of that strong side tackle, which makes sense. So that's where you can kind of expect him to line up, is on that left side next to Travon Walker. So Armstead is not better than Allen, says Denny Airy. Well, they play different positions. Like Armstead's a tackle, a big D tackle, and Josh Allen's an edge, a D end, whatever it is. Ron Beedry says, we haven't had this type of D-line since Calais Campbell. Good things are ahead. Tyler's TV says, should we try to sign Chase Young? I don't think so, because there's only so many snaps to go around, and you're already going to probably try to give 900 snaps each to Josh Allen and Travon Walker. So that doesn't really leave any snaps for Chase Young. Like I was kind of saying earlier, you kind of need a rotational guy, a guy who's going to play 400 snaps, who's good, productive, bring him in on pass downs, down and distance, when you have, after a penalty, things like that. So I don't think that's Chase Young. I think it's more like a guy like Arden Key. I mean, I don't think it will be Arden Key, but a guy like him. Denny Airy says, Armstead is a good player. He's not a game wrecker, but alongside Allen and Walker, he should be able to create a lot of opportunities for himself and those two. It's a good move. I agree. That dude, Evan, is a channel member. Says, what's up, boys? Imagine a third down package with Travon and Arik inside, Josh Allen and Chop Robinson on the edge. Our D-line is going to be good. And look at what the Texans have done with their D-line. And look what the Titans have done with their offense. And look at the type of quarterback you're going to have to stop with the Colts. So you're going to need a D-line in this division. Really all in the NFL, but especially this division, which the AFC South is projected to be one of the better divisions in football next year. So you're going to need a good D-line. So I think it was the right move, because now we don't have to address that IDL in the first round. I think you probably still could get some depth there. It's definitely an edge somewhere. You can go corner now. You can go receiver. You can go IOL. You can go a lot of different directions now. You don't have to worry about interior defensive line, which is nice. Hunter Moss says that's the 5th-year option. 5th-year option, not backloaded. But that's what he would be on this year, right? Was I wrong about that? Is he not on his 5th-year option? G. Grant says Armstead is a 10,000% a game wrecker. Bosa had Defensive Player of the Year season because of how much attention he's getting in the interior. Zoe says, Jags United. Arik never made a Pro Bowl. Are we overhyping it? I don't think so, because if you think about, and I could go into a long explanation here of what I think, but that interior defensive line position, a lot of what they do and what makes them efficient in the game doesn't show up on the stat sheet. Eating double teams, stopping the run for a gain of 1, going and tackling a screen from the interior defensive line. None of that's going to show up on the stat sheet. What shows up on the stat sheets are sacks. So you look at guys like Aaron Donald, you look at guys like Chris Jones that make the Pro Bowl every year because they can get sacks from the interior. So that interior defensive line and the Pro Bowl correlation, I don't think equates to what would be a concerning player just because of what we're asking them to do. For example, look at the Jags last year. Roy Robertson-Harris, Adam Gotsis, what was it, Blackwell, whatever his name is. Like they couldn't even hold their ground at the line of scrimmage. They would get pushed back, and we couldn't stop the run. You want your D-line to be able to hold up the O-line, let your linebackers and box safeties fly down and make tackles in the gaps, and those things don't show up on the stat sheets. So Pro Bowls I'm not too concerned about when it comes to that position. Same thing at corner, right? All the guys at corner that make the Pro Bowl get interceptions. And a lot of times interceptions can be lucky. A good corner will not have the ball thrown his way at all. Those guys don't make the Pro Bowl. It's the guys that get interceptions. So it's one of those weird positions where the stats don't show up on the stat sheet. So that's just my hypothesis, I think. Terp says, could we sign Calais to rotate? We could. He's getting kind of old, though. I think Arik Armstead is our version of Calais Campbell. They're very similar in size. They're very similar in play style and skill set. And I think you have Roy Robertson-Harris to rotate. Sea Breacher says, is there any prospects you're falling in love with? Not really. It's so hard to dig through all the film of every prospect. It takes so much time that I've just kind of given up on doing it. I just wait till the Jags draft them, and then I break them down. It's just because it's so time-consuming, because you can't get a good gauge off of even, like I talked about with 4 games with Arik Armstead. That's not even fair to really evaluate him. You have to look at a whole season to really evaluate these players. So there's not a guy, I think our biggest need is corner now that Darius Williams is gone. Take the best corner. If you don't like any of the corners there, take the best wide receiver. Now, if they make moves in free agency as any of those positions, now we could have a different conversation. But until then, wide receiver and corner are so valuable. After that, we all know the needs are rotational edge, depth at inside offensive line, because Sheriff probably's got one more year in him, if that. Washington State Jags fan channel member says, I got to say, I'm digging the moves. Jaguars Nationwide says, can they restructure a 5th-year option like a franchise tag? I don't think you can restructure a 5th-year option. 100 miles per hour says, no, but they can terminate it and give him a deal out of the gate. But I think that deal will be more than $14 million, don't you think? Like, he's probably, like I said, Ayuk's looking for Calvin Ridley money. 100%. Angelo Blackstone, wasn't it? Blackstone, did I get that right? Did I just call him Blackwell? I don't know. Jaguars Nationwide says Adonai Mitchell at 17 and TJ Tampa at 48. JFJ says there are great wide receivers that should be available in the 2nd round. Well, we know Trent Baalke has a terrible history of drafting wide receivers. So we know that's not going to be something that we want. But I don't know. I got to do a little bit more work on the draft. I do, admittedly. I've seen the mock drafts. I've seen those types of things. But overall, I don't even say I'm qualified enough. What's his name with Gen Jag? Does a lot of film reviews on those guys. I defer to him on those. Once we draft them, though, we're going to break down the film. I just quite frankly don't have time to go through the 40 prospects that are projected to be in the 1st round. So that's just me. That's just how I feel. All right, well, that's going to be it for tonight. It's just a quick show, a quick little celebratory Arik Armstead film breakdown, look at things type stuff. I'm going to try to do a show tomorrow night. To be fair, I am going to the Players Championship, which is, if you're not from Jacksonville, it's a golf tournament here in Jacksonville. It's one of the biggest ones in the PGA Tour. And I'm a huge golf fan. You guys know that. So I have tickets for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I will be sunburnt. I will be tired. I will be probably hoarse. But we're still going to try to do a show this weekend at some point. I got my boy Mike coming on to talk a little Jags. We always like to get his perspective. So he'll be on one of these nights, and it'll probably be fueled by beverages from the Players Championship. But it'll all be fun. Make sure that you are following my Instagram, because events like this at the Players, I take a lot of pictures on my Instagram. I don't know what gets into me, maybe a little liquid courage, but I get real heavy on the Instagram. So make sure to check that out and like that. Like the video, subscribe. Please subscribe. Tell a friend, please. I think I'm going to jump on Twitch here in about 15 minutes. So make sure to do all that. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate all the channel members that were here. 100 miles per hour, Washington State, Jags fans, Sea Breacher, that dude, Evan. We had Corey T was here. We had all kind of channel members. Volk Fang, if I missed you, I'm sorry. Mrs. Duval, Guy, thank you for the super chat. Shay was here, driving from Universal, which sounds like a nightmare. I hate theme parks. Like, I love roller coasters. I love roller coasters. I hate waiting in line, and I hate like a shit ton of people. I just don't like that stuff, and I hate driving far to go do all that. Not to mention, you got to pay a bunch of money to get into the park. Now, I get it. When you have kids, you want to create memories, so I get all that. Me personally, I'm going to go to the Players. I'm going to have a good time, and I will see you guys this week. Thank you so much. I love you guys. I will see you guys very, very soon, and until then, go Jags.